Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're diving into Ultimate Myth and trying to figure out which characters should be in your team, you've come to the right place. With over 60 mythical legends to choose from, like Sun Wukonging, Chang'e, and so many others, it can get a bit overwhelming. But don't worry, today we're breaking down the best of the best, those top tier characters that can really take your team to the next level. So, whether you're a newbie or a veteran, get ready to optimize your squad and make sure you're stacking up with the right picks. Now, I know it's tough to choose from such a massive roster, but trust me, there are definitely a few meta units you'll want to focus on. These heroes are not only super powerful, but they're also game changers in battle. I'll be going over exactly which ones are worth your time and resources, so you can dominate those idle battles and level up your game. Stick around because we're about to make sure you never make the wrong pick again. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking characters in Ultimate Myth. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Xiao Qian, Fengdu Emperor, Huapi, Bull King, Vermilion Bird, Nezha, Shenong, and Jinja. Oh boy, here we go. The part of the roster that makes you wonder if your gacha rolls were cursed by a bored ancient deity. Yep, we're diving headfirst into the D tier characters of Ultimate Myth. These are the folks you pull, stare at for a second, and then say, maybe I'll use them in a meme team. Let's break it down, one heartbreak at a time. Let's start with Xiao Qian, bless her heart. She can slightly boost your team's critical hit rate, and I do mean slightly, like adding a droplet to a swimming pool. Beyond that, she contributes next to nothing. Her healing output is laughably low, and if you're hoping for crowd control or utility, you're better off asking a turnip. Moving on to Fengdu Emperor, who looks cool, has a majestic presence, and sports a massive health pool. Sounds promising, right? But here's the catch. He has no way to taunt enemies or shield his allies. He just stands there, watching, not helping, and when it comes to synergy, he's basically the weird guy at the party who talks to the furniture. Most team compositions just leave him behind. Then we've got Huapi, the queen of passive aggression. She applies a poison debuff over time, which sounds useful until you realize she brings 0 burst damage to the table. If you need a quick takedown or any sort of area of effect ability, well, she's just not that kind of girl. She's the slow burn in a meta that demands explosions. Bull King stomps onto the scene with a surprisingly decent stun on his ultimate ability. You think, okay, maybe there's something here, and then you wait and wait, because his energy gain is so painfully slow that you'll see your grandkids graduate before he ults again. And once you face magic-heavy enemies, he turns into a glorified punching bag with horns. Say hello to Vermilion Bird, the firebird of your dreams. If those dreams involve watching your DPS, damage per second, unit crumble like a paper airplane in a thunderstorm. Yes, she can ignite enemies with an area of effect attack, but her cast times are so long you'll have time to make a sandwich. And with her pathetic durability, she usually dies before finishing her spell, F. Then there's Nezha, the little firecracker with a built-in dash, which is great for mobility but unfortunately doesn't come with much else. His damage scaling is all over the place, which makes him unpredictable in battle. And as for team utility or sustain, non-existent. Nezha is kind of like a sugar rush. Fun for a second, followed by disappointment and regret. Let's not forget Shenong, who occasionally applies random buffs to the team. Sounds quirky and fun, right? But the key word here is random. You never know what you're going to get, and the inconsistency makes him frustrating to build around. On top of that, his damage is weak, his animations are slow, and he just feels clunky. And finally, our boy Jinja. He tries, he really does. He gives the team a slight boost in energy gain, which is nice, for about 2 seconds. He cannot absorb damage to save his life, and his skill rotation in player versus player scenarios is about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. You bring him into a fight, and he just kind of flails around like a confused intern on their first day. So yeah, if you pulled any of these characters, I'm not saying it's over, but maybe start praying to the gacha gods for a reroll. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Mengpo, Li Feng, Qilin, Azure Dragon, Shihei, Qiu, and Du Kang. You know things are getting real when your entire strategy hinges on a character whose best feature is slightly tanky with HP scaling. Yep, welcome to the C tier, the land of almost heroes and would-be legends in Ultimate Myth. These are the characters that could have been contenders, but instead, well, they're trying their best, bless their stats. Let's kick things off with Meng Po, the team's friendly ghost grandma. She provides healing over time for everyone, which sounds nice until you realize it's about as aggressive as offering someone tea in the middle of a battlefield. She can apply slow debuffs too, which is cute, but her burst healing is almost non-existent. And survivability? Think tissue paper in a thunderstorm. Lovely to have, but don't expect her to survive a sneeze from the enemy. Next up is Lai Feng, the melee bruiser who shows up to the party with a decent area of effect sword swing and a health bar that scales okayish with hit points. Early on, he feels like a solid pick, especially when everyone else is still learning how to walk. But once the game hits the late stages, his damage per second falls off harder than a budget phone battery. Still, at least he looks cool while underperforming. Keelan is that glass cannon who can absolutely delete a squishy enemy in a blink. Her animations are super fast, blink and you miss it, and that makes her tricky to interrupt. But the problem? She's basically allergic to damage. One bad positioning call and she evaporates faster than your in-game gold. You either protect her, like she's your last healing potion, or watch her become a cautionary tale. Let's talk about Azure Dragon, the flashy agility-based assassin who loves critical hits. In the right setup, this dragon can chain crits like a domino effect of pain and even bypass enemy front lines to snipe out key targets. But, and it's a big but, he brings absolutely nothing to the team in terms of crowd control or utility. He's like that one rogue player in co-op who's only there for the kills and vanishes when teamwork is needed. He tries really hard. She brings burn effects that chip away at enemies over time and has some moderate crowd control in her kit. The problem is, her base stats are painfully low and her cooldowns feel like they were designed by a sadist. Using her is kind of like trying to win a race in flip-flops. You can, technically, but it's going to be clunky and painful. Chiyu is kind of like that gym bro who peaked in high school. He can self-buff a little for sustain and does decently in early game PvE content. But once you start climbing the ranks or jump into player versus player mode, his impact plummets. He becomes a bench warmer with a shiny sword, there, but not exactly doing much. And then there's Dukang, who feels like someone's attempt at making a support character after too many drinks. His energy regeneration skill can be handy if you're running a mage-heavy team, and he can even silence enemies. Sounds great, right? But the silence is about as reliable as a coin toss, and outside of that, he brings minimal healing or team utility. He's the guy who shows up to the fight with good vibes and not much else. Got a favorite in this struggling squad, or are we all just here for the memes? The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Tian Yue, Nuba, Wukong, Nuwa, Erlang, Chang'e, Haoyi, and Kuafa. Ah, here we go, the part where the characters are not trash, but also not invited to the cool kids table. Welcome to the B tier, my friends. These are the underdogs, the almost greats, the ones who make you go, I guess he's okay. If you squint, but don't get it twisted, these heroes still have game. Let's dive into who's lurking in the middle of the Ultimate Myth food chain. Let's start with Tian Yu, the most dependable roommate you could ask for. He's got balanced damage output and a little bit of survivability, kind of like the guy who brings his own snacks to the party and leaves without causing a mess. His skill cooldowns are short, which means he's always doing something, but unfortunately, that something isn't crowd control or big burst damage. In player versus player content, he's like that one friend who shows up to dodgeball with good intentions but no throwing arm. Next up, we've got Nuba, the walking debuff machine. This guy excels at making enemies feel like they woke up on the wrong side of the bed. His debuffs reduce both damage and defense, making him a dream and control heavy team compositions. But bless his heart, he couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag. Low base damage and zero self-sustain make him a bit of a diva to keep alive, so bring a healer or get ready to watch him melt. Now let's talk about Wukong, the monkey king of versatility. He's got that frontline fighter energy with a side of dodge potential. Very much the parkour enthusiast of the roster. His area of effect damage hits hard both on his basic attacks and his ultimate ability, which is great. Until you hit late game. That's when Wukong starts aging like milk, not wine. Scaling issues make him a less appealing choice the longer the battle drags on. Enter Nuwa, the team mom. She's all about buffing allies, healing them, and giving resistance to status effects. She even removes debuffs, making her a star player in player versus environment content. But offensively, she's about as threatening as a warm hug, and if the enemy team so much as looks at her funny, she goes down faster than your Wi-Fi during a thunderstorm. Then there's Erlang, not to be confused with God Erlang, his much more glamorous cousin. Regular Erlang has decent stats and works in most content and without needing a PhD in team synergy. He's easy to build and even easier to slot into your squad. But here's the catch, once you get to the big leagues, you'll realize he's basically the off-brand cereal version. It looks the same, but the taste is just meh. Let's not forget Chang'e, our resident AoE magic dealer. She's fantastic at mowing down grouped enemies, and her energy regeneration skills mean she's always ready to cast something sparkly, but she's fragile. Like, accidentally bump her and she explodes, fragile. Assassins see her as free lunch, so you better babysit her or prepare for heartbreak. Moving on to Hao Yi, the long-distance sniper of the team. His single target damage is impressive, and better yet, he does it from a safe distance. His shots pierce through enemies, ignoring front lines entirely, which is chef's kiss in certain matchups. That said, if the enemy has even a hint of mobility, Hao Yi suddenly looks like a guy trying to hit a fly with a bow and arrow, frustrating and mostly ineffective. Last but not least, we've got Kuafa, the tank who just wants to give everyone a shield and a good time. He can take a punch and create barriers to keep the party alive, which is super handy in the early stages of player versus environment content. But compared to top tier tanks, he lacks any real disruption or utility. He's basically a human meat wall. Reliable, sure, but not exactly inspiring. So yeah, B tier isn't where the legends live, but it's also not the dumpster. These characters can still pull their weight with the right team, some love, and a little bit of strategy. You just have to work a bit harder to make them shine. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, God Kuafa, God Vermilion, God Fuxi, God Liu Chenxiang, Demon Keelan, Demon Lifeng, and Demon Qiyu. You ever blink during a boss fight and suddenly your entire team is dead, except for one smug tank still standing like they're built different? Yeah, that's probably God Kuafa. This guy is a walking wall with a ridiculous base defense and an HP pool deep enough to swim in. He's the kind of character that just shrugs off hits like, was that supposed to hurt? On top of that, he can throw up shields to protect his allies and even taunt enemies into focusing him. Perfect for those player versus environment dungeon runs where someone needs to babysit the squishies. And then we've got God Vermilion, the area of effect pyromaniac who decided fire was a personality trait. If you like your enemies medium rare, this is your guy. He's all about that burn over time damage, which stacks up real nice in elemental burst compositions, especially if you're running the other mages alongside him. The best part? His abilities don't chug mana like a thirsty dragon, and the cooldowns are short enough to keep the fireworks going non-stop. God Fuxi is like that one weird kid in class who's somehow good at everything. He's a utility mage, which means he can deal decent damage and support the team. Need to mess with enemy cooldowns? He's got you. Want to just nuke things instead? Go for a full damage per second build and he's still viable. He's the flex pick you bring when you're not sure what you're walking into, but you want to make sure you walk out in one piece. Let's talk about God Liu Chenxiang, who I swear must be mainlining caffeine with the way he zips around the battlefield. He's a mobility-focused crit burst monster. His skills let him reposition mid-fight, which makes him fantastic for dodging big red area of effect zones and confusing the heck out of enemies. And his ultimate? Oh, it scales like a dream late game. Get him some crit gear and watch him delete people from the screen. Now, for the spicy picks, let's start with Demon Keelan. You want burst damage? He brings it, especially against those fragile backline enemies who think they're safe. His stealth mechanics make him perfect for surprise engagements, kind of like your cousin sneaking into your snacks at night. He shines in player versus player battles when paired with stun or silence heavy team comps. Basically, blink and your healer's gone. Demon Lifeng is more of a surgical strike kind of guy. He's a single target nuker who doesn't just hurt, he silences. And in player versus player, silencing that one annoying enemy mage is the difference between a win and a why did we queue for this? With the right magic penetration stats, he scales like a beast, making him a reliable assassin type pick when you want someone very dead. Lastly, there's Demon Qiyu, the warrior who doesn't believe in quick fights. He's all about stacking bleeds and grinding you down over time. His skills hit in area of effect patterns, so if your enemies are huddled together like it's a group photo, they're in trouble. And the longer the fight goes on, the stronger he gets. He's that guy in the party who says, I don't start strong, but I finish strong, and means it. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, God Erlang, God Chang'e, God Wukong, Demon Haoyi, and Demon Tian Yue. Oh, you thought your team was stacked? Wait till you meet the real monsters of Ultimate Myth. I'm talking gods and demons so strong they make your best units look like background NPCs at a tutorial village. Let's break down the top tier Chaos Bringers from the S tier. Trust me, you're gonna want at least one of these in your lineup, or all of them if you enjoy winning. First up, let's talk about God Erlang, aka the single target nightmare. This guy is basically a boss fight assassin. Every time he strings together an attack chain, his passive ability kicks in and just keeps stacking up the damage. On top of that, he has built-in lifesteal mechanics, so not only does he hit like a truck, he heals himself while doing it. He's like a self-sufficient blender in god form. Toss him into any tough fight, and just watch enemies melt while he casually keeps himself alive like nothing's happening. Next, we've got God Chang'e, who is your go-to for obliterating groups of enemies. Her magic-based area of effect skills are on short cooldowns, meaning she just keeps nuking over and over again. But it doesn't stop there. She also throws out nasty debuffs that strip enemy defenses, setting them up for even more punishment. She pairs beautifully with crowd control or slow base teams. Put her in a comp with some freeze or stun, and it's like watching fireworks on a battlefield. Painful, glittery fireworks. Then comes the legendary trickster himself, God Wukong. He's basically 3 characters in one thanks to his clone mechanics. That means more damage, more confusion, and a whole lot of fun. He's got a naturally high dodge rate, so trying to hit him is like trying to slap fog. Plus, depending on which skill you use, he can pivot between heavy area of effect damage or single target focus. He's flexible, chaotic, and just a little bit annoying in the best possible way. And now, descending straight from the fiery pits of PvP perfection, we've got Demon Haoyi. With an absurd critical hit rate and long-range capabilities, he delivers consistent high damage from a safe distance. His special skill bypasses enemy shields completely, which is just rude, honestly. But it makes him perfect for both player versus player matches and raid boss encounters. He bursts, he pierces, and he does not care about your so-called defenses. Last but absolutely not least, let's bow to the relentless frontline menace that is Demon Tian Yue. This demon comes with built-in rage and a revive mechanic. Yes, he dies, and then he doesn't, just to make your enemies suffer a little longer. His attacks inflict both bleed and burn effects, stacking up powerful damage over time. Over time, he turns even the tankiest foes into scorched meat. He's not just a DPS, damage per second unit, he's a whole horror movie. So yeah, if your current team doesn't have at least one of these legends, maybe it's time to rethink your life choices, or at least your team comp. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.